Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this webinar on the participation of the Water Committee of the World Federation of Engineer Organizations at the 10th World Water Forum, which took place in Bali, Indonesia in May 2024. My name is Ignacio González-Castelao. I am the chair of the WFEO Water Committee. As you all know, WFEO is the global organization for the engineering profession. Founded in 1968 under the auspices of UNESCO, WFEO brings together national engineering institutions from more than 100 nations and represent more than 30 million engineers. During the World Water Forum, WFEO participants share challenges and perspectives from the water and sanitation sector, which are in line with the theme of the event, Water for Shared Prosperity. As engineers and leaders, our collaborative efforts are crucial in shaping a future where clean and accessible water is a reality for all. We aim to catalyze change, share knowledge, and forge partnerships that transcend borders for the betterment of our planet and its inhabitants. We embark on this journey with determination and hope, leveraging our collective knowledge to achieve a water-secure world. Today, we are honored to have with us two distinguished speakers, Lylian Coelho and Dale Jacobson. We're going to share their contributions to the World Water Forum and also give us an overview of the Ministerial Declaration. Lylian Coelho, a leading engineer and environmental expert focused on sustainable issues, is currently the Development Director of the Chair at Agro Paris Tech Suez, a facilitator of dialogue and partnerships. She undertakes research to development and share insights into emerging topics. Dale Jacobson, a leading player in the engineering community, brings a vast experience and expertise in the water sector. As an environmental consultant, his knowledge is also key to the development of sustainable water strategies for the future. He has served as a member of the Board of Governors of the World Water Council, an international multi-stakeholder organization that catalyzes collective actions during and between its World Water Forum. Thank you both for your time and willingness to participate in this webinar. And now it's time to give them the floor. So please, Lylian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ignacio. I'm sharing my screen. If you can confirm that you can see, it's okay.
Yes, it's fine.
Great. First of all, thank you so much for the World Federation of Engineer Organization, Ignacio, and all the secretary team for introducing this topic so important. And then the theme from the Water Forum in Bali was Water for Shared Prosperity. And with these words that I would like to start this presentation, that what it could mean. And a few numbers that what was done during these 1 week in Bali. We count with more than 5 head of states, 135 ministerial delegates, 106 countries, 278 sections. That's proof that this 10 water forum that could be impacted and then bring it to the table several and important engagements from not only from private and the public sector, but also from the statements. To go to the step where what happened during the 8th to 24 May, Indonesia adopted the several declarations. And the one of them, that's this Ministerial Declaration, the news of the communique, and the 2 others more local and regional authorization declaration in Bali Basin Champions Agency. During this week, a lot of projects were put on the table. And then what I think that is important to show you the three priorities that was mentioned during this declaration. The first one is the proposal of the World Lake Day. It's not to propose a symbolic day, but also to have a main topic to discuss about the importance, about the security of the planet and the lakes. The second one was the establishment of the Center of Excellence for Water Security and Climate in capacity building in knowledge. That is another point that every topic I participate, we discuss it about capacity building in knowledge, and then how you can bring management and security for other countries. And the third one that was raising the issues for integrated water researches management for the small islands. You know, since the COP 26, 27, we established several documents where we declared the support from the countries to the island, and how we can invest, how you can put the funds on the table, how you can overcome the challenge related to the quality and availability of the water. That I'm trying to move the slide. Could you see the next one?
No.
No. I'm moving by my side. I think that there's something. Could you see now? No?
No, it's not.
Maybe now.
It's not changing the slide. Okay,
now
now
it's changed. Thank you, perfect. The list of concrete deliverables and actions that I would like to show you at this moment, the number of projects that you discussed during the week. Then you have some topics that are the most important, like the water availability and access to wash. We have the knowledge and innovation in the water sector. We discussed about the sustainable water management and policies. And then enhance water nexus. I think that is important. After I share in the link with Ignacio, some links where you can have the description about each project, because most of them, they have the amount, the funds that was injected, and the duration about them. Then if I can just in big lines show you the Center of Excellence on Water and Climate, I can show here 5 projects that was signed during this weekend. One for Indonesia Regional Training Center, where in coordination with the World Meteorological Organization and Ocean Track Global, they could improve. And then during the 4 next years, they have among $100,000 to develop small projects, but to change the climatological and hydrological services. The second one is the Center of Excellence in terms of the Sub-Technical Center. Also, Indonesia, you established the Asia Pacifico and the Regional Sub-Training Center. The third one was linked with the international and intergovernmental trade force, a task force that will be created to support and instrumentalize the implementation of the cooperative framework in 2024. That's some of the next 2 others is about the exchange the water management knowledge, and to support the PACWA, that is the Pan-African Center for the Water and the Climate Adaptation with Egypt, that you enhance the regional center finance with the Africa. That is important to see how the diversity from the project was done. I would like to highlight that the good things during the forum was the youth. They also target to implementation during education, governance, employment across the water sector. On the other hand, the civil society that could not have the same action like they done in Dakar the last years. I was engaged by the French company where I work, that's Suez, and the Water for All chair, and I make part of the 120 participants from the public, private sector, NGO, and civil society that participated directly, and our challenge were to meet the exchange of views with the various players, encourage the commitment and mobilization during the event, identify and understand the water-related challenge. Mrs. Barbara Pompini, that represented the French government, emphasized drastically that we need to accelerate the actions to achieve the 20 global water-related targets. For that, we need that UN member states should regularly review their collective progress towards the 20 water-related SDGs, break out the sectoral silos and integrate the central role of the water and the sanitation and the 2030 agenda, include the fresh water components and all thematics of United Nations summits, organize the United Nations World Summit located specifically to the theme of the water, soil, and agriculture for the sustainable development, and others. But that is very important that if you stay working in water in silos, you cannot change. Key messages: access to safe water and sanitation is essential, but if you don't have access to the safe management, you cannot go ahead and to improve the countries and development countries. That was highlighted during this week, that you cannot finance only infrastructures, but you need to invest also in the safe management. I will show now examples from France and from Brazil about the projects that are doing at this moment, and then that were introduced during the forum. One Water, Au Bien Commun, that is a national research from France and supported by 10 academic partners. And then they have a common good that to make recognize it, that multi-stakeholders can work together and federate a water community. And then one aims to speed up transition and measure the impact of global challenges on social ecosystems through the 6 major scientific channels. They have a budget from 53 million euros funded by Plan France 2030 investment plan. And then it's a very good success at this moment in France. To highlight just the 2 topics that you needed to reflect, and you reflected during this this forum, that is water resources, soil agroecology, and food security. You need to align the World Water Forum with the international United Nations process. If you separate the 2, that you will not be more so have the efficacy that you are looking for. You need to provide the political, technical, economic, and capacity build support for farmers and the food industry, and manage the surface of the groundwater resources as a common good. investing in a nature-based solution, but not only. You need to put in place robust economic initiatives to accelerate and intensify biodiversity conservation practices. Also, we needed to adopt the source to sea approach that also consider groundwater when managing aquatic ecosystems. And the link in the Water Forum international process relating to the water governance, all in this way that you can be more efficacious. And which funds that we need always to talk about funds, money, finance, because the water sector and sanitation, you discuss about how many you have on the table for this sector, and always you are suffering. But governments should focus on the complementary of possible forms of financing and allow projects leaders easier to access. Because the money is there, you don't know how to target it. And the development of innovative and blended finance, which brings together fund and the resources and the private, public, and the philanthropic for projects that reconcile the needs for a financial return with the needs for an impact. I just put some lines here under the table to not forget that the next will held in Saudi Arabia, and the declaration is not yet shared with us, but we need to take care about the voices of civil society. Then let's start with some actions from Brazil that we have during the second day, the Latin America Water Council launched some actions about the water resources management training plan. And then the community of Portuguese-speaking countries. And then inside this management training plan, the top is involved in the context of support projects for the management and the monitoring of the water resources in the countries. Also, meeting was in the contracting of a new study, the development of a learning trail on climate change and the relationship with the water resources. And I had the honor to discuss with Oscar Cortez and Caio Coelho. They from the government of the state of Bahia, and then the Portal Água. It's a platform that you can combine civil society, you can federations, and for the dissemination of the water, and to accelerate the incorporation of the technicals and the social challenge linked to the water. CAES also that working with them is impacting with another project that called Água Doce, the sweet water. And also that's some very beautiful projects that you needed to take in account. And maybe in another meeting, you can explain more in detail, because I think that this challenge that you needed to face for the another countries, that you can share the same solution and not create another one more. I will share also links with you if you want. By my side, during the event, I have the opportunity to make part of side events to ensure the quality, to share the access to the quality of water and sanitation, working under the Suez, and then the share water for all also, and then to show with how engineers could speak and share their challenge day a day, no revenue waters, and all kind of technical or commercial issues was taken account about the governance and the gender and transferring knowledge, and about the Suez Foundation that share supporting about different topics with aqua assistance, technical assistance, and the share water for all. But engineers need to be more present in this kind of events. Here, just to illustrate some pictures that during our side events, and I had the opportunity to close the meeting in the last day, proposing that what will impact this forum and the real life for the capacity building program and to increase the engineers in the world. I would like to thank you. If I have more time, I'm here to answer your questions and to share more details if you want. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lylian. And now it's time for, well, the questions, we'll address them at the end of the webinar. So it's Dale, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you see my screen adequately, I hope?
We see you, but not your screen.
Really? Well, all right. How about now?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay.
Perfect.
Well, the title of my presentation is Water and Sanitation Challenges in North America. And the basis for that is that this was prepared as a presentation as part of the Americas regional process. The regional processes are done around the globe and are done in the year preceding the actual forum. And so the head of the regional process, Ben Braga from Brazil, asked us to address the water and sanitation challenges in North America. And that's the basis for my presentation today. So I needed a baseline to start with, and a report card from an academic perspective is a good way to do that. The American Society of Civil Engineers prepares a report card every 4 years on 17 infrastructure categories in the United States. 2 of those categories are wastewater and drinking water, which is going to be the focus of my presentation. So how do they do the report card preparation? Well, there's criteria that are used to evaluate the state of the various infrastructure. Capacity, condition, funding, certainly one of the big criteria, future needs, current operation and maintenance issues, public safety, resilience, and innovation. So the criteria are pretty broad, but covers a lot of ground. So let me move to the wastewater report card first. The grade is a D+. The academic system in the United States has grades given from A to D, essentially, with A being an excellent grade, B being a good grade, C being a satisfactory grade, and D being an unsatisfactory grade. And you can also have pluses and minuses to expand the spectrum there. But the wastewater report card grade in the United States is a D+. Now that seems rather bad for a country that's got quite a well-developed wastewater system. But let me tell you the reasons for the basis of the grade. 81% of the wastewater treatment plants in the US are at design capacity. And 15% of the wastewater treatment plants have exceeded their design capacity. So there you have almost 100% of the treatment plants in the US have a capacity issue at this point. Well, why is that? The reason is because the wastewater treatment work in the United States began in the 1970s, and many treatment plants were built as a result of that, and I'll expand on that in a minute. But so we have a lot of treatment plants that are 50 years old, and times have changed, equipment has changed, the population has grown, and there's lots of reasons why they're at the capacity. So we do need help in the wastewater area. Now let me go with the drinking water next. C-. Well, not as bad as the wastewater grade, but not good. It's based on the fact that we have very old water systems in the U.S. Most of the cities in the U.S. have especially the older cities, have water systems that are 100 years old. And when you have a 100-year-old system, you're going to have some need for updating and replacement. And then funding is an issue here with the drinking water system also. So how has this been addressed in the United States? Well, we have two very specific laws that have been passed. The Clean Water Act, which regulates sanitation or wastewater, was passed and signed into law in 1972, so more than 50 years ago. And the Safe Drinking Water Act, which regulates drinking water, potable water, was passed and signed into law in 1974. We just celebrated the 50th anniversary of that recently at a major conference in the US. So both of these laws have been on the books and in place for many years. So let me amplify a little bit. The Clean Water Act mandated secondary treatment of all wastewater. Secondary treatment in that definition was that the discharge to the receiving water from the treatment plant had to have less than 30 milligrams per liter of biochemical oxygen demand and less than 30 milligrams per liter of total suspended solids. That was the definition of, or is the definition of, secondary treatment. So in order to regulate the system, the law specified a permitting system. I show there NPDES, that's National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. Every wastewater treatment plant in the United States has an NPDES permit. And these permits are either issued by the states or by the EPA, depending upon the regulatory framework. The EPA was put into place in the United States in the early 1970s, and the Clean Water Act designated the EPA as the regulatory authority. Now, one of the key issues with the Clean Water Act was it funded construction of wastewater treatment plants through grants. And a grant is money that is given to the recipient and does not have to be repaid. It's not a loan. This was a very generous program. Typically, the grant gave a grantee 75% of the cost of the facility. So if you're a city and you're going to build a new wastewater treatment plant, being able to fund it with local funds of only 25% is quite a good financial deal. To make it even better, many of the states in the US passed laws to fund construction through some state grants also that were then amplified onto the federal grants. For example, in my state of Nebraska, the legislature funded 12.5% of the cost of the treatment plant. They split the 25% that didn't get paid for by the EPA. So if you were a city in my state, you could build a new wastewater treatment plant for 12.5 cents on the dollar, which I think most cities thought was quite a good deal. So Clean Watershed Needs Survey, and that's euphemism for wastewater treatment. And they do the EPA does this survey every few years, 4 to 6 years. It depends upon the circumstances. The needs cover the following categories: secondary wastewater treatment, which I've defined for you; advanced wastewater treatment, which might also be called tertiary wastewater treatment plant treatment, and that is a level of treatment beyond the 3030 that I noted earlier. Another category is correction of infiltration, inflow. This is because having groundwater or some other source of clean water enter your sanitary sewer system results in an additional cost for pumping and treatment. They also was looking at replacement and rehabilitation of existing sewers. As with the drinking water system, the sewers in many parts of the country are 100 years old and need to be looked at as replaced or rehabilitated. Population increase has resulted in new collection sewers and new interceptor sewers being needed in many cities. And combined sewer overflow, known as CSO, needs to be corrected. Many cities in what I will say is the eastern half of the United States had sewer systems that were built that carried both stormwater and sewage in the early days. When wastewater systems got more sophisticated and the wastewater was directed to treatment plants, many times it had to be discharged to a receiving stream during storm flow because the treatment plants weren't designed to treat stormwater. And then stormwater management and wastewater reuse are a couple of other needs that are covered in the survey. Let me shift now to the Safe Drinking Water Act and the provisions of that. Minimum standards for tap water, drinking water, were established. These standards were called maximum contaminant levels, MCLs, and the initial law provided for standards for 80-some different constituencies in the drinking water. And the development of the standards were required to both consider risk to the public as well as cost. And the act delegated actual responsibility for this to the state agencies. Essentially, all 50 states in the United States have a regulatory agency that is at the environmental level that mirrors and works closely with the US EPA. And standards were also provided for underground injection of fluids. As with wastewater, the EPA does a drinking water needs survey covering these categories: distribution and transmission, treatment, storage, and source water. So I'd like to now shift to talk about financing. As you can see, the needs are great, and we needed financing mechanisms. And this is what has been done in the US. We have a clean water state revolving fund and a drinking water state revolving fund. So let me talk to the first one is the clean water. Once again, clean water refers to wastewater. The EPA furnished capitalization grants for this fund. And I should back up and say the reason these funds are being in place is the grants program that I described earlier ran through the 1970s and the 1980s, but by the late 1980s, the grants program was being phased out in favor of these revolving funds. If the EPA gives money to the state to capitalize the grant program, then they require that the state match that with 20% state money also. The major objective here is to provide the recipients, cities, municipalities, districts, low-cost financing to construct capital improvements to their systems. And if you see there, it's been a success from a financial standpoint. We've done $163 billion of financing for wastewater projects And that's been done through 46,200 low-cost loans. These loans have to be repaid. There might be some exception where some of it is a grant, but for the most part, they're a loan and has to be repaid to the fund. And then those funds stay in that agency and can be recycled to finance new projects. As with the Clean Water Fund, there's a state drinking water fund. Same program, capitalization by EPA, matched by the state, low-cost financing, but you can see there that there has been $41 billion of financing for drinking water projects through 15,400 low-cost loans. So both of these programs have resulted in billions of dollars of new construction that's been financed through that, and it's a very successful way to fund the programs. The federal government participates, the state governments participate, and the people that are building the projects participate. Now to shift to a different level, I'd like to describe what has been done for these two funds, the Clean Water and the Drinking Water funds, from the state level. And I live in Nebraska, which is a state in the very middle of the United States. Fact is, I'm in a city in the middle of Nebraska now that says it's halfway between Boston and San Francisco. So you can get the idea where we are in the middle of the US. Our state agency is the Department of Environment and Energy that implements the federal regulations. And in order to do that, they do use an intended use plan, which outlines project needs, cost estimates for these projects, and timing as to when they will be done. I mean, these plans go out several years into the future, at least 5 years, if not more, into the future, so that they can be doing. And then they have a funding model to see who gets it. Here's a picture of the cash flow funding model. The EPA capitalization grant, so that's federal money, comes into the state revolving fund. It's matched with 20% money from the state, and then that entire amount goes into the state revolving fund program. And this revolving fund is for both drinking water as well as wastewater projects. So then cities or districts or agencies can apply for a loan, and they go through the process of getting the loans. You know, there's a lot of paperwork, but these loans are low interest, and it's certainly the best way to go for financing compared to traditional financing in the municipal fund market. And then they have to be paid back, and then the money goes back into the program to be recycled. So it's a very efficient program. So let me elaborate on what the needs are for the state of Nebraska. To frame this, the state of Nebraska population is 2 million people. So we are not very large in relationship to our geographic area, which is 700 kilometers across the state. So we're an agriculture state in some sense, but we have lots of industry in the cities. The wastewater needs are over $72 million based on the 2024 numbers. The drinking water needs are much larger, 575 million. That number, together makes 650 million almost for our total needs for Nebraska. That drinking water number is skewed to a certain point because there is a significant amount of money in that number for lead service line replacement. And lead service lines at one time ran from the public drinking water service line to a residence, a home, and they were constructed of lead. That's no longer an acceptable practice from a public health standpoint. But it's also a matter of those projects are on private property, not on property owned by the municipality. So that number tends to be a part of that is because the needs on the private property of the citizens. So, well, how about the needs in the revolving fund? Well, the Clean Water Revolving Fund needs are $1.3 billion. The Drinking Water revolving fund needs are 1.5 billion. So the total needs in the state of Nebraska are $2.8 billion. And if you think of our 2 million people in a country with 330 million people, you can imagine what it is from the big picture perspective. So going back to the American Society of Civil Engineers report card, in addition to pointing out the needs, the report card makes recommendations on the corrective action. The first recommendation within the wastewater area is asset management. The next one is address PFAS. You've probably all heard of PFAS and the polyfluoral issue with forever chemicals, and it's becoming quite a wide-ranging issue with cost to be determined. Financing programs need to be expanded, eliminating of combined sewer overflow, increased treatment plant efficiency, but that's possible. We have new technology that wasn't in place 50 years ago when these projects initially started. And so that is certainly feasible. And then, of course, addressing climate change and risk and resilient are two issues. And then ensuring that there's financing. The rates that the utilities charge for the water and wastewater services have to be adequate to fund their systems. From the drinking water standpoint, the recommendations are really quite similar to the wastewater ones, more financing, asset management, smart water technology, which we talked about, encouraging private financing. That's difficult to do. Addressing workforce issues. Many of the utilities have workforce issues where their employees have been there a long time, and we need to be bringing in a younger workforce, and that's what that's talking about. And then ensure that the rates are adequate, once again, to support the systems, and the rates are equitable. So, and then small communities sometimes have challenges that bigger systems don't have because of the population or the capability, and so that needs to be supported also. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you, and I'd be pleased to respond to questions at the same time as Lylian would. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Dale. I think that we have a couple of questions. Let me check. Yeah, well, the first question, maybe Lylian can answer is, did you also address the issue of water losses in the distribution system?
Just can you read, is a general question about?
Yeah, it's a general question. Did you also address the issue of water losses in the distribution system in the forum, the World Water Forum?
I think that is difficult to say that, yes, you are, we are trying, that you put all efforts to address, but you need more efforts to do between the private and the public sector to address the importance about this challenge that is the most important inside the in Africa, in Asia, in Africa. I just make some comments because Dale just shared about it. He dressed some lines to solve this problem. And then we discuss about, we sign projects to address this problem, but you cannot say that you solve the 100%. You have a lot of things to do.
Yeah, and also Dale, in your presentation, I didn't see anything about water losses. How is this in the States? What are the percentage?
Well, I don't know the percentage, Ignacio, but the water loss is certainly an issue that drinking water utilities in the U.S. are very aware of. I've just returned from a major conference.
Apague la luz, por favor. Yes, go ahead.
I've returned from a major conference sponsored by the American Water Works Association every year, and that association is made up of drinking water utilities and of course the manufacturers and the consultancies that work in that field. And water loss is very much on the mind of U.S. drinking water utilities, and they are addressing it. There's smart sensors out there, and there's a lot of other work that's being done on that issue in the United States.
Well, the next question, I think that for both, it's which threat is greater for water, population increase or population growth or climate change?
I'll go first. I think the climate change is slowly, the population grows fast.
So do you think that it's worse population growth or climate change for water?
I think we have to address the population. We have to, you know, if the globe is going to meet SDG 6 and achieve those goals for water and sanitation, we have to act now. If climate change is going to be something in 2050, that's a different issue. So I think population has to be dealt with first.
Okay.
If I can also add something, if you see the cycle of life, each moment in the world when you have the problem is the migration. And then if you have a population concentrated in one area that you needed to anticipate the water management, but when you have the climate change and the people, the migration for another country, another place in the area that could be worse than the ground. I think that we needed to, the mitigation is the most important thing in the water sector today. That is, for me, that's the combined both.
Okay, and just dealing with this, referring to climate change, there is a lot of money put on mitigation, but on adaptation, we don't see that amount of money. And what do you think about this?
I think that is critical because I participate with it was the side event about the risk with dams that the adaptation in the water, that a lot of states don't put on the table the financial to prevent about the tax, the finance. They prefer the grants, the assurance of the catastrophe after to resolve the problems. And then this is something that you needed to highlight, that you need that I always think that you cannot resolve any problem with the combination of the civil society, the public sector, and the private sector. And the public sector needed to take the responsibility, but they cannot do alone. It's why engineers are essential to prevent, to adapt infrastructures to combine with climate change. And it's our guidance that is needed to put in the table to adapt the new infrastructure for tomorrow, taking in consideration climate change.
Do you want to add anything else about this, Dale, about adaptation?
No, I think Lylian answered that just fine. Thank you.
Okay. And another question, we are running out of time. It's who finances the low-cost loans? The private sector? You were talking before, Dale, about these loans, but I think that it wasn't the private sector, isn't it? It's just public funds.
Well, yes, the model in the U.S. has been for the federal government to participate in the financing. And then, as I showed you with the revolving fund, with the state government to participate in the financing. But that still leaves part of it to be done at the local level. And I think that it's imperative in a country that you must have federal as well as state participation in that. But the local people that are going to be the beneficiaries of clean water and safe drinking water also have to participate some. And that's going to depend upon the capability of the areas. Some areas are very poor and might need a lot of financing at the government level. Some other areas may not be that poor, and the local people have to have a hand in the financing. You don't see a lot of private financing at this point compared to the public level. I'm not saying that private financing might not work, but the finance people might find a better investment than water and wastewater.
Okay. Well, I think it's time to conclude. Our past WFEO past president, José Vieira, just sent me a message right now that he wanted to say a few words, but I don't know if he has the link to access. Please, Ivan, if you can send him an email with the link. Okay. Well, thank you. Congratulations, our distinguished speakers, for these inspiring contributions. And your expertise has shed light on critical issues surrounding water and sanitation sector, in line with the objectives of the World Water Forum 2024. Thank you very much. Again, Lylian and Dale, for your time and willingness to participate in this webinar.
Yes,
Give
José
me,
Vieira is there.
yeah, give me just 1 minute to give the floor to José Vieira, please. José, go ahead. We cannot hear you. José, your micro is mute.
Okay.
Okay, now it's fine.
Are you listening
José.
to me?
Yes, José, go ahead.
Okay. I have just 2 words to congratulate this webinar. Very fruitful, this information. And congratulations to Lylian. How are you, Lylian? Good. And Dale Jacobson. I think that this is very important for dissemination, this information, and not only information, but also the commitment of WFEO in this very, very crucial issue of water that is very important, not only for developed countries, but mainly in developing countries. Thank you very much, and congratulations for your webinar.
Thank you, José, and thank you very much again, Lylian and Dale, for your time and willingness to participate in this webinar. And also thank you to our audience for your time, and I hope this webinar has been of your interest. Good afternoon, everyone, and I hope we have the opportunity to meet again another time and perhaps in another place. Thank you very much.